relieved that Brandon Aiyuk isn't coming to Pittsburgh. I'm not relieved that it's over. I didn't need to get past it. He would have been a wonderful player here. Let's be honest. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates. Where you found this. Aiyuk signed 4 years, $30 million a pop, and he's staying in Santa Clara. And it's over. It's all over. Except for one thing. This never would have been, never could have been the only player Omar Khan would have had in mind all these weeks and months. Unless he's been lobotomized since the last time we spoke, and that was only Saturday in Detroit, this is still a really smart guy. This isn't someone who's about to put all of the eggs into the basket of a player that even his present employer would acknowledge is pretty erratic. So while Omar and Mike Tomlin and everybody might have wanted Aiyuk above anyone else out there, it hardly means that, oh, we didn't get him? Oh, well. Van Jefferson it is, you guys. Hey, everybody. That's terrible GMing. And you've seen enough with your own eyes to trust that Omar isn't a terrible GM and isn't about to morph into being a terrible GM. We reported at DK Pittsburgh Sports several weeks ago that the Steelers internally were confident that they'll be able to acquire a significant wide receiver from somewhere. Now, the way these conversations go, and I'm not talking about the internal ones now, I'm talking about me and you, is we start looking for names. Okay, well, who's having a squabble? All right, well, it's Aiyuk and it's, DK Metcalf and it's CD Lamb but what isn't known, what can't be known, even by agents, believe it or not, is who's available via trade. Why? Because there are only 32 National Football League general managers on the entire planet, and they tend not to be all that chatty. Quite a while ago, more than a decade ago, in covering the Pirates, they made a trade, and a prominent one at that. I'm not going to mention which one. But it was with Atlanta, and it made big headlines in the Major League Baseball world. Huge headlines. And the day after it happened, I run into the GM. This was at the winter meetings that they have. And he asks me almost devilishly, how did you not have that? How did you not get that? Because he knows I was always fishing for stuff like this and calling agents and so forth. And I asked him back, how many people were involved in this? Meaning your actual talks. He said, well, me and the people in my room and them and the people in their room. I thought maybe somebody would leak it. I said, no, why would they? What would you do to them if they did? He goes, well, they'd be fired. I go, exactly. Did you ever cue any agents in on this? No. Did you ever tell the player? Oh, God, no. But that sort of thing happens in sports all the time. So that player might very well be somebody whose name you never dreamed would be available. You'd just have to make the right kind of offer. And here again, if I know Omar, he's had all kinds of contingencies set up. All right, this team over here has this player. We'd have to give up X, X, and X to get him. All right, that team over there has so-and-so player and so forth. Now, maybe the one thing that changes out of all this is that Omar no longer has to sweat how to carve out $30 million in instant cap space, not just now, but for the next 4 years. He can now, I believe, resume communications with the agents for Cam Hayward, Pat Freiermuth, maybe even Najee Harris, take care of his own, and from there, do whatever is both possible and reasonable to add to the wide receiving core. One other thought I have on this subject before letting it go for the day. Actually, no, letting it go forever. I was very much in favor of acquiring Aiyuk. As noted at the beginning of the show, I still believe he'd have been a fine acquisition, an inspired acquisition, a valuable contributor to this offense. I also believe that it's scary for the Steelers to enter the 2024 season without another number one type wide receiver in the event that George Pickens gets hurt. But I'll also say this. It doesn't take too much digging into Arthur Smith's past to know that his number two wide receiver has invariably been a tight end. And his number two wide receiver, so to speak, in this offense is, and likely will remain, Pat Freiermuth. And nothing that I've seen all summer long, not in practices, not in Latrobe, not in the preseason, has changed my mind on that front. They know this on the inside, too. They speak about it openly in that locker room. So what really should be everybody's rooting interest, I would say, or I would advise, would be that you get the best from Pickens, the best from Freiermuth, and the best of health for both. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from Brian, who says, "Hey DK, do you think Justin Fields could be the Steelers' secret weapon for the difficult 8-game stretch at the end of the season? A fresh, strong, and dangerous Fields coming in for more reps in those games, you know, when those teams are feeling the wear of their own seasons." Brian, as long as I'm closing chapters on certain conversations here, no. Fields is going to be whatever you see from him in Atlanta. I believe that. The only way that would change is if Wilson's either hurt or he falls flat on his face. And I'm not anticipating the latter. We saw this head coach, we saw Mike Tomlin watch some of the worst quarterback play where he needed pliers to remove the molars from his mouth to convince him to take out Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky. And I can't even begin to fathom what would be required for Tomlin to bench Wilson, much less have some sort of, secret weapon type plan for how Fields could be unleashed on everyone in December. There is a part of me that wonders and is going to continue wondering whether or not the Steelers would have been better off just giving this offense to Fields and saying, hey, it's your team at the start. You show us what you can do because you can be part of our future. And then if he were to get hurt or fall flat on his face, now look at who you're bringing in off the bench to help you get through the rest of the year. But this is the way Tomlin decided to go. It was his decision, his unilaterally, as he stressed himself a couple days ago. And now this is the way it's going to go. Look, I wouldn't do any excessive stretching of this concept that Tomlin broached. As much as I find it attractive and exciting that Fields could come into the game in specific situations and make something happen, I'm thinking back more toward when Tomlin was using Josh Dobbs like that. Do you remember that? Like, even though Dobbs could do pretty much everything, Tomlin saw him as more of a scrambler, and he'd come on the field. It was pretty much an ad, like a neon ad, that a QB run was coming, and then nothing would happen with it, and that was the end. I hope this is more than that, but I don't have precedent for that, and I definitely don't believe it's going to lead to something. Look, this is the way it's going to be. This is it. Until there's something else. And a lot like the initial subject I broached today, everyone can hope and cross their fingers and read every rumor mill and whatever else. Or they can just look at the guys who are here, who are in the roles they currently have, and say, what's the best way to get absolute max out of all of them? And, oh, by the way, how good can the offense be, or how good does the offense even need to be if the defense, which we never talk about, performs up to par? I happen to hold that par really, really high. And I am incessantly surprised that more people don't seem to feel the same way. That I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We will be back with another one Monday to kick off, finally, a real game week.